You're listening to the Cars of Carlisle podcast, episode 40. BMW. It can stand for more than just Bavarian Motor Works. How about Businessman Worldwide? Meet Chris Roth today.
Cars of Carlisle is your favorite internationally downloaded podcast about all things automotive. Darren and his CFC team are ever searching for interesting automotive happenings, real stories about real car people, and fun features to inform and entertain you. Each week, the Cars of Carlisle crew brings you show topics ranging from car shows to team adventures to auto racing weekends to behind-the-scenes human interest stories from car nuts that live across town, across the country, or even across the globe. Come join the road trip.
Today, Darren stops by the offices of CR's Motor Car Company in Newville, Pennsylvania to speak with owner Chris Roth. Tune in to hear how Chris has built a thriving international business focused exclusively on the ultimate driving machines, BMWs. So jump in and let's get revved up.
Hello and welcome back, Cubers, to your favorite informative automotive podcast. I am your host, Darren. Really excited to share an interview with you today from CR's Motor Car Company with owner Chris Roth. He is absolutely all things BMW. Had a great time in his back office, going through the shop, talking with him about everything that he does, and have a lot of pictures and things to share with you on Instagram, so be sure to check that out. But really enjoyed hearing his story, how he came to be a fan of BMWs and made an international business out of this, and out of Newville, Pennsylvania, which is just a small town between Carlisle and Shippensburg here in central Pennsylvania. So very, very cool story, awesome guy, very down to earth, and I think you're going to enjoy learning more about his focus and passion for BMW. So let's go to that now. Well, Cubers, this is Darren Reichert. I'm coming to you from CR Motor Car Company in Newville, Pennsylvania. I'm with Chris Roth, owner. And Chris, thank you very much for taking time out on a snowy Friday afternoon to meet with me. Just as we were getting ready to do the interview, tell us a little bit about the wagon you just sold.
Guy just called me from Des Moines, Iowa, and was interested in this white diesel wagon I have, a 2014 Sport Package. It's white with red interior, which is really odd. And said it's the right car, and he's going to send me a certified check.
That's awesome. That's a great way to get your night going.
That's right. That's right.
Well, tell us a little bit about been in business since '97 from my research. And
correct.
What got you've always been a BMW fan? What got you into it? How'd you start your business?
So my dad's always been in the car business, been a car dealer, and I've always been into cars. Okay. And I working for my dad, that was kind of it was almost like Orange County Choppers kind of thing. Mm-hmm. He's, tough guy, and I was, didn't want to deal with it. So I actually went off and got a job working for a shop in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, which we did all of the BMW dealerships collision stuff, like wrecks, Okay. And they hired me pretty much to, empty trash. I was, straight out of high school kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know, a couple weeks after working there, I started working on BMWs, fixing wrecks, and they could see that I actually worked on cars. So next thing you know, I'm doing bodywork. And not a really big bodywork guy, so ended up doing a lot of engine work on these BMWs because they're all hitting the front, and I'm doing water pumps, and I'm like, man, what a great car this is. This is way better than this junk that my dad deals with, just domestic stuff, and ever since then, I've always just, I bought a wrecked BMW, put a couple pieces on that one, fixed it up, bought another one with an ugly interior, used the interior out of that parts car. And
so you started to flip before it was a word that people use.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And that was in that was 96. Okay. Something like that. All right. 95, 96.
Have you always been in this location?
I've been here since 2000. Yeah, 2000. Okay. So my dad had a shop up in Shippensburg. Okay. That's where I basically kind of started. Okay. Just kind of on the side with him, and then I got to a point where I had 30 BMWs sitting around, and he was like, you got to do something. So
turn it into a business.
Yeah, that's right.
That was actually one of the next questions I had was what makes you a fan of the Teutonic King, but BMW, obviously, you started to realize the value just the quality.
Quality car, yeah.
And what in particular, especially when in your younger years, that drew you to that? Because obviously there are a lot of we have Japanese and German brands and everything,
Yeah.
of course. But what in particular was it? Just the maybe the form follows function or function or function?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to BMWs same way a lot of guys do. Like I had a Volkswagen, I had a bunch of Volkswagens, and one of the later ones I had was a Jetta, and I did some work to it, and I'm trying to get the thing to go faster, and and then finally I was at auction one day, and I'm selling this Jetta that I had, and here comes an E30.
Nice.
Which is a like a 84 to 91 3 Series.
Boxy looking. Yeah.
And it was a 318, little 4-cylinder.
Yeah.
So I bought it. It was cheap. I got it in. I drove it down the road, bone stock, and I was like, my goodness, this thing just like kills that stupid Jetta I was driving. No, don't get me wrong. I love the Volkswagen stuff, but as far as horsepower, like here's a same little 4-cylinder that just killed that car.
And steering, BMW steering. Is
the handling. It was like, oh my goodness, this is what I've been looking for, and then it just kind of evolved from there. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What about some of your wholesale clients? I mean, I know we just had this call come in from Iowa. You had someone calling in from Pittsburgh that was going to come tomorrow.
Sure.
But how far-reaching, particularly when those that are buying off of your lot?
I think the farthest one I've ever had was, actually just sold one yesterday on Bring a Trailer. I don't know if you ever heard of Bring a Trailer.
Not familiar, no.
It's like a high-end eBay.
Okay.
They have to accept your car to sell it.
Gotcha.
But I just sold one yesterday on there to a guy that lives in L.A. So
nice.
He's going to ship the car. And I think California, Washington.
Okay.
Sold an 88 M5 to a guy in Washington State. Wow. And he flew out, drove it home, And he's funny. He's like, "Wow, you're out in the middle of nowhere, and you sell
Quite
BMWs."
Literally. Yes.
Yeah. So.
We can still be cool.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
We can appreciate good things.
Yeah.
That was actually one of the things is how far someone's been. And also you, of course, have full service here. And that's one of the things, too, that if anyone goes out to crbimmers.com to Chris's website, you'll see, obviously, the story and what they do as far as currently, I think you have 10. There's some, most of them are sold, but you have 10 on your site as of today, and we just sold another one there. But talk about a little bit about the service side of things.
Right now, it's just 3 of us here at the shop, and Nate that I have work for me. He came from the BMW dealership. He was there for 6 years.
Okay.
Didn't really like the politics of it, and he's amazing. I mean, he can work on 2 or 3 cars at one time, and when he's not working on cars, he's usually studying, like, I don't even know. Like, it's just amazing. Like, studying something completely off key. Like, I go, how big is Pluto? And he'll come in tomorrow morning and tell me.
Right.
He's just
and everything you want to know about it.
Yeah, he's like that. He's just amazing.
That's really cool. You actually have a real treasure in that.
Yeah.
And the fact too that it's a fun environment. I mean, obviously, those are there. I can take some pictures before I leave, but. In Chris's office, there are so many cool things on the wall. Of course, everything BMW, but skateboards and of course, I love getting all 4 wheels off the ground and just there's some cool posters and things. But you have to be an automotive fan to appreciate an office like this.
Yeah, thanks.
One of the things too I wanted to ask you was, what's perhaps one of the rarest BMWs you've either worked on or perhaps flipped or passed through your shop?
I think probably I bought a 57 Isetta.
Wow.
In fact, there's a picture of it right behind you.
Yes, the red one.
That one, that's a pretty rare car. In fact, it was sitting in a barn for a number of years, and I bought that with a couple old 2002s, and I had it running in about an hour. It was amazing. I was amazed. Didn't really take much at all to me.
And that's a barn find for real.
Yeah.
And they're a fun car because I know my dad used to say that there was a kid that in his high school days that drove one.
Is that right?
And he and several other linemen would just pick it up and carry it up steps and put it somewhere.
You can literally pick it up.
Right.
Yeah. This guy Tim, that used to work for me, this was a couple of years ago. He's probably about 300 some pounds. And he goes, "Hey, I'm going to take that thing outside." I was like, "Oh man, this is scary because this is such a little car." And he's rolling up and down the street in it,
Wow.
And besides that one, I mean, that was not really a value. I mean, I ended up selling the car for, I don't know, it was like $10,000 or something. So it's not a lot of money. Now it's probably worth 20, but
sure.
There's a 1967 1602 right there. It's like a 2002.
Okay.
See that? I don't know if you can see it there.
Yeah.
The red one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that car I bought in DC. I had an ad in the BMW Car Club magazine saying that I buy old BMWs.
Yeah.
And this guy called me. I ended up buying it. Brought it home, did a bunch of, just odds and ends stuff. It was a vintage, race car, basically. So I advertised the car for sale. I had it for a couple of years, and it was just sitting. And a guy out in California bought it. They call him the Collector. And not that I want to,
Sure. Yeah.
But if you were to Google the Collector, BMW, the Collector, the guy has an amazing collection of cars. And he bought my car and took it back and restored it, and it's like one of his prized pieces now.
That's kind of a neat tale to tell.
Yeah.
Very cool. Any M1s ever pass through?
No, I've sat in one.
Okay.
Ed Olam used to own Carlisle Valley Motors in Mechanicsburg.
What was that like? I mean, it was a supercar of its day.
Oh, yeah. And when I sat in it, it was probably in 95, 93, 94, 95, something like that. So that car was still super cool,
Yeah. There's a mystique to that car.
Yeah, yeah. It still feels very Italian to sit in, though. Feels like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or something, as opposed to...
Okay.
Now, maybe driving it would feel completely different,
Sure,
but still, I was... huge-eyed.
Yeah, right. That's understandable. Yeah. It's kind of like the white elephant. You don't really see him ever.
That's right.
Have you ever had a chance to go to Munich for any reason, or?
I have not been there, but my friend Dave and I, my best friend lives in Toronto, and he actually became my best friend from buying parts off of me on the internet.
Nice.
Him and I have had 3 trips now that we were going to go, and something came up. The first one, my wife became pregnant, and I was getting ready to go, and it was like, oh man, So I blame my son all the time now. So, but since then we keep planning it, and we end up going on little stupid vacations with our ladies, and we just haven't been yet. So.
Well, maybe there'll be an Oktoberfest in the future. So.
Definitely.
Well, you don't have to just share this if you don't want to, and we can just say whether or not it was a racetrack or a closed course or not.
Sure.
But what's the fastest that you've seen a speedo on a Bimmer?
The fastest I've gone,
Personally,
and I'll just straight up say it wasn't all that long ago. 181, 165. So
wow.
Yeah, it was in a 02 M5.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I still had room to go. It still had room to go.
That is fast. That is definitely fast. So, what else would you want to share with audience that listens to the Cars of Carlisle podcast all over? Argentina, Brazil, Sweden, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Spain. So it's and I know that you've actually been selling parts internationally too, correct?
Sure.
So it's kind of neat that little Newville, Carlisle is really on the map, if you will. What would you want to share with those that are not American-born, American living?
I wish I was there, and and they probably wish they were here so they could drive the Corvettes and Camaros.
That's true. Yeah,
I have a 1969 Firebird that needs restored, and it's sitting in my garage at home, and I don't even look at it.
Wow!
But yet I have a 1990 325 IS that I absolutely love. It's got 327,000 miles on it.
Wow!
It's a great car. I love it.
How many years have you had it?
I've had that for probably 15 years, 12 or 15 years, something like that. Yeah.
Cool. Have you had a chance to ever go to any BMW race series or anything like that, where you've actually been participant or spectator, gotten in the pits and been able to talk with engineers and such?
Not as much as I'd like to have. I've talked to Chris Cabetto many times. He runs NASA down in Summit Point and around. And NASA is now, I don't even know what NASA stands for. It's basically it's kind of like SCCA.
Okay.
But they have a bunch of spec classes where everyone runs exactly, the same kind of car and,
setup and everything,
Yeah, and which started out to be really small, but now he is huge, worldwide kind of huge,
Wow.
But he pointed me in a lot of cool directions and wanted me to really get into racing. And
have you ever autocrossed any of your cars?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Okay.
Not when I was younger.
Okay.
Then I had kids and
Right.
Got married.
Time and money.
And then that kills my Saturdays and Sundays.
Right.
And, but
That does happen.
Yeah, I did a bunch of 2002s. In fact, I think there's a couple of race pictures behind. So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, sorry, not to keep throwing you back there, but
that's good.
these are like my vintage pictures that I sit here and reminisce about.
And I know that 2002 is a car to me that I remember. I lived in upstate New York, and I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and one of my friends that lived up on the hill, his dad came home in a bright canary yellow one.
Wow.
And I just remember thinking, that is a cool car. It was so unlike everything else on the road, both domestic and otherwise.
Sure.
But it was really, I remember just all the kids just flocked to his driveway.
Yeah,
So
yeah. The first time I rode in one, I was like, oh my goodness, this thing is it's like a go-kart, It just sticks and goes and doesn't feel as old as it is, and
it's a timeless design too.
yeah. I'm still building one out here.
Okay.
The one I'm doing right now is a 76, and putting a 6-cylinder in it, and it's not going to be a restoration, but it's going to be it's going to be fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Zip around.
Yeah.
Well, if you could own any car, I mean, you could add any Bimmer to your car collection. Just give me the full details. I know that's
a hard one.
I'm sure it is, but just if you had only one.
And I thought about this today, whenever was kind of going over this. Nate and I were talking about it, and I think my favorite one would be that I just would cut my left arm off for. Would be it's a BMW E30. It's called an Alpina B6.
Oh wow.
3.5.
Now, talk to us a little bit about what that is.
So, back in like the late 80s, there was the 7 Series had a big 6-cylinder in it. This monster, it's a huge engine. Mm-hmm. Not a whole lot of horsepower, just big. Mm-hmm. Alpina is kind of like Shelby is the Mustang, Mm-hmm. So Alpina buys these BMWs and they pull the engines out and they put monster motors in.
So like an AMG to Mercedes.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. So Alpina did this to this car. They put this big monster motor in and big pistons and cam and it was just an amazing car. And it looks super cool. It has this big cow catcher front air dam on it and just really cool car.
And what year
that would have been like an 86 87, okay. Something like that.
Okay.
In fact, not long ago there was an article. I don't even remember where I saw it, but if you Google it, it's like the first thing to come up. Mm-hmm. It was the only Alpina B6 3.5 in the country. Like I think it was worldwide that was even for sale. So
wow.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I think it's almost $100,000 car, now, which, I mean, it's just that's the one I think.
That is cool to know, and I didn't know much about the whole Alpina until you explained
No, and many people don't, but the people that do are like, whoa, wow. Right. It is such a cool car.
Get your attention.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, for fans, I actually bought an X5 from Chris, and his shop, his team, they are the real deal, and couldn't be happier. In fact, I think it's really neat whenever I tell people about, I was just talking to someone down south near Kentucky, and they said, really, I've never heard of Carlisle, never heard of Newville, and then oh yeah, and but the fact that there are these types of businesses and
sure.
You are truly on the map, not even just in our state, but obviously the quality and the purchase from
well, thank you.
The central part of the country and of course West Coast and selling parts all over the world.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
So many people come here and I don't know if you want to tell them I'm basically surrounded on 3 sides by fields.
Right. Well, and that's
like cornfields.
I was gonna say I'll take some photos and put it out on Instagram. But yeah, it is you. If you come flying over the hill and you're going, over the double nickel, you will not see this place. You'll keep going. That's right. You will miss it. So.
People that come here from Philly and DC and Baltimore, they come in and they go, oh my goodness, a BMW shop in the middle of nowhere.
Right. And it's
well, the cops let us alone. We can do 165.
So no, it is definitely a place that people don't. They may look past it, but they don't realize what goes on inside here. So it's really amazing. Yeah. Well, I mentioned about crbimmers.com. Any Facebook, Instagram? How would you like people to find you otherwise?
Yeah, we're on Facebook. I'm not a big Instagram fan. Mm-hmm. Jen over here is. She does the Instagram and Facebook stuff. But in fact, I don't even know what our name is or whatever on there. CR Bimmers.
Okay. All right.
I'm the get my hands dirty.
That's right.
Guy.
That's right. Well, any parting shot? I'll give you the final say from the driver's seat.
I appreciate you sitting down with me. That's pretty cool.
No, and thank you very much for making time. In fact, I am very appreciative of people like you that give up your time to share your story, because I think that's part of what draws everyone to the podcast and is that car community.
Sure.
And obviously, I'm sure you've seen customers of all walks of life and every background and what have you, but they're drawn to the marque, to BMW.
Yeah.
And it's a common thread. And that's really what I feel the automotive world is too.
Yeah.
You can have hobbyists that are he or she may be a high powered attorney. This one may be a welder, but they can stand at a car show and talk like they've known each other for years because they had that common passion.
Sure.
So that's the cool part about the community.
It's very cool. Yeah, very cool.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
Chris.
you. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview. He is just a great guy, and I consider him a friend. And being a local business person, I want to definitely help promote his business. If you live in the central Pennsylvania area, if you're in the Carlisle, Newville, Shippensburg, Mechanicsburg, Harrisburg area, he is just a couple miles off of Interstate 81 off the Newville exit, 600 Centerville Road. You can find Chris, and very unassuming property, but you can just look for all the BMWs out front. And I'm proud to be able to take my vehicle to him to work on, because I know it's going to be taken care of, and expert, qualified service work will be done on it with BMW authentic parts. So that's a great guy. Check him out at crbimmers.com. And before we close for today, just want to say a big thank you to Man Engineering, Gary Liu, and the whole team in Santa Clara, California, as they are a sponsor of the Cars of Carlisle podcast. As always, a big thank you to them, and be sure to check them out at man-engineering.com for all things Subaru performance parts. And if you are anywhere near Lakeland, Florida, check out Winter Auto Fest Lakeland. That is a major event held in that area by Carlisle Events, and that's coming up February 22nd through 24th. Meanwhile, for the Cars of Carlisle podcast, we are working hard to line up new guests, and we'll have some cool things coming to you here the second half of February, so be sure to come back next week. And for now, I will say drive well, be well, and take care.